Hello, so today we are going to talk about Mello Roos. If you have been doing your research on Irvine, considering moving here and owning a property here, then more than likely you have heard the term Mello Roos, and if you haven't, you certainly are going to very soon. Hi, I'm Chiselle and I am a local resident here in Irvine. I've been here for about 3 years and I am originally from the Bay Area, but I've also lived in Fort Lauderdale and LA. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, always do this. Don't forget to subscribe. If you want to learn, if you haven't been to this channel before, this channel focuses on all things Irvine and surrounding Orange County areas. So we talk about the good and the bad and everything in between. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified when new videos are out. Are they videos or episodes? I don't really know the YouTube terminology, but you know what I mean. You get notified when another one of these is out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So Mello Roos, I am a native to California. I grew up in San Ramon, California, which if you have not been there, it is about 35 minutes east of Oakland, maybe a little bit less when traffic is down, but it is in the suburbs and there's definitely a lot of new construction. At least there was when I was growing up there. There was a lot of new construction. So I have heard the term Mello Roos. I got my real estate license back in 2003, and just being in that area and from that area, I would come across this term a lot. If you are from out of state, you probably haven't heard this term just because it is related to a California proposition, so I'll cover that. But essentially, Mello Roos is a form of a tax assessment. So what is it? How long does it last? How much are they? That is what I'm going to be getting into now. So let's go ahead and get started. Excuse me for just a second. I'm going to take a sip of my rose tea. That is super delicious. Okay, so here we go. So back in 1978, a proposition, Prop 13, was passed. This proposition really limited the amount of money that could be pulled from taxes to be used for infrastructure and services. So as new homes were being developed, there wasn't a whole lot of funds that could be taken from taxes to create things like schools, roadways, sewage, streetlights, services such as police, that kind of stuff. It was capped. So fast forward to 1982, and I think the guys that created this amendment were Mello and Roos, or maybe one of them was Roos. I don't know. Anyway, the technical term for it is Community Facilities District Tax Assessment, so CFD. And but it's commonly referred to as Mello Roos. In fact, I've never heard it really mentioned as CFD, but you could hear it. Those are essentially the same, interswapped, I guess, or interchangeable. Is that the word? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, in 1982, this was passed, and what this allowed, what it allowed the communities to do was to create tax assessments to pay for these services. So if a builder was coming in and building a bunch of new homes, they also had to account for, if there's going to be, let's say, 100 homes, do those, school-age children, would they be able to go to the existing schools, or does that mean that we need to have a new school? Because there's a certain number of students that are allowed per class, per school, right? So as those things were being developed, it now became something that was planned before the homes came in. Street lights, services, like I mentioned, like the police departments, and sewage, all of that was part of these assessments. And so it allows the builders to recoup those funds. Could the builders pay for all of this? Probably, but if they don't have to, why would they? And I don't know that they actually could for the number that they built. I'm not sure, but anyway, it got passed on to us. So we have now what is called a Mello Roos. So a few things to note about them. Unlike property taxes, a Mello Roos is not something that is an ongoing forever kind of tax. It is an assessment. It is essentially like an extra tax that is placed for a set period of time. So it's a certain value and it has a lifespan. It can go up to 40 years. More commonly, you'll see it as 20 to 25 years. So, sorry, I have a really dry throat. I think it's allergies, so I'm sipping tea. So anyway, it'll go for 20 to 25 years. So if you do start looking at homes here in the Irvine community, if they are 20 years young, or younger, then you will want to find out if there's a Mello Roos, because more than likely there is. And then you'll want to find out how much time is left, because it could be 20 or a 25-year one, maybe even up to the 40-year one, right? So you'll want to know how many years are left on that sucker. Okay. The other thing to know about Mello Roos is that generally speaking, they are 1 to 1.5% of the market value. So the price point of the home that you purchase, if you're buying a brand new home, then that market value will be the taxes. So it is important to know that, because you could be looking at paying around 2.5% in property taxes, and that may change your budget when you're looking here. So you'll want to know what that is. If you are looking at an older home that is closer to that 20 to 25-year mark, then the Mello Roos is probably going to be significantly less. So again, that is something you want to be aware of as you're looking at homes, because it could change your budget and what you can afford. So keep that in mind. 3, Mello Roos can increase. Okay, so it is something that is not necessarily a fixed cost. It can increase by 2% in a maximum of 25 years. So, when someone says, is it a fixed, is that what you're just going to pay? And it never changes. Technically, the amendment was written so that it can change by 2% within those 25 years. So the other thing that you'll want to know is that if you don't want to have something that's drawn out for the lifetime of the assessment, so that 20 to 25 years, you can pay it off early. So when you purchase the home, you can just pay it off. Most people don't. In fact, I don't really know anybody that has. I mean, if you think about it, most people don't stay in their home that they purchased, the first one, for 40 years. And most still don't stay 20 or 25 years. That's just very, very rare. We are seeing that individuals are staying in their properties longer now, so about 7 to 10 years, but that's still about half of what a typical Mello Roos time period is, right? So most individuals will know that coming into it, so they opt not to pay it all at once. And instead, what ends up happening is when you sell the property, then whatever's remaining on those tax assessments gets passed on to the new homeowner. So they'll have the tax assessments until it expires, for lack of a better word. So until it's done. And that way, if you are moving, then that's not, haven't essentially paid for something that you're not going to be in. So what is this money used for? As I mentioned early on, it is used for infrastructure and services. So again, this is all of the communities that are being built. You have schools, roads, and public services available, and municipalities available to service those communities, so they are not left without being able to utilize services. And it's also not causing a strain for already existing residents, which I think is key to note as well. So for someone that already lives in the community, they can feel confident that their children aren't going to suffer in worse school conditions, or maybe your road conditions aren't necessarily going to get significantly worse because there's new folks coming in. Doesn't count for traffic, but you know what I mean. So there you have it. So do you like them? Do you not? I mean, I'm not a fan of taxes, but I will say that one of the reasons I personally love living in this area is that it is wide open roads. You have smooth surfaces. I mean, if you've lived in LA or in Fort Lauderdale or San Francisco, it's like pothole, everywhere. It's like just your tires get jacked, your alignment in your car, like it's just a bumpy ride. No matter how nice of a car you have, you're going to feel it. And so when you're driving here, it's just smooth roads. And it's top rated schools. If you go to greatschools.org, you'll see that Irvine is consistently ranked as top rated schools in a lot of the surrounding Orange County schools as well. So it's another thing to note. FBI, as I've mentioned before, is ranked, Irvine, one of the top safest cities in the nation. And we have so many parks and outdoor spaces, and communities are developed with parks in them, and open spaces and trails and that kind of stuff. And that only happens with proper planning, and the Mello Roos is one way to pay for those things. So we do get the benefit of having that, and we get to continue receiving the benefits from that because of the Mello Roos. So it's a love-hate relationship, because I know I hate taxes, but I love being able to live here and enjoy the amenities and the perks that come from living here. So now you tell me, what do you think? Does this make it something that you would want to deter you from moving here? Or after understanding and learning a little bit more about it, would you still consider Irvine as a place to live? Let me know in your comments below. As always, feel free to ask any questions that you want, and I'll maybe include it in a video upcoming. And you can always reach out through the contact information that's available up here, down there, wherever it is that it's going to show up. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.